All right. Good morning, trade pros. Welcome to our morning market update for this beautiful Friday, August the 9th of 2019. This is George Fabs off Trade Pro Academy. It's laundry day, and I haven't worn this shirt in 2 years. So you see me with some new attire. Cool. We have a great update for you today. It's going to be a pretty in-depth one. We're going to talk about a few things, including Uber, the White House, and their latest update regarding Huawei, and Facebook news, not fake news. So let's start out with our morning market fun fact. This is actually a cool morning market fun fact. I haven't done one in a while. On this day in 1995, all right, the internet stock sector was born when the 16-month-old company called Netscape Communications did its first IPO. Not its first, but did its initial public offering called an IPO. You guys remember Netscape Navigator? Did you use Netscape Navigator or no? You were 5 days old. Victorio did not use Netscape Navigator. What about you, Marky? Did you use it? Azales, I know you used it. We started using it in school, and I remember like those little Mac, the Cube Macs, Netscape Navigator. I'm like, this is so cool. Back in the day when you call it the internet. Yeah, so I mean, comment below if you remember Netscape Navigator. Right? That thing was epic. I kind of want to buy one of those Macs just to use Netscape Navigator again. The IPO price was at $28 per share, and because none of the initial buyers of the IPO were willing to sell the shares, there was no secondary market. I mean, there's a lot of buyers willing to purchase, but no sellers. The leading underwriter, Morgan Stanley, had to increase the IPO price to $71 per share before trading began because there just weren't any sellers. So they have to up the price to create some supply in order for this thing to kick off trading. Imagine this: company goes IPO, there are zero sellers and nothing but buyers on the ladder. And Morgan Stanley said, "Hey, we keep making more money off this. Let's raise the price last minute." Pretty cool stat, cool update. 1995. We go way back. All right. On actual news that affects the market today, the White House is delaying a decision to lift the ban on U.S. companies exporting technology or selling technology to Huawei. All right. And this happened after China said that they're halting further purchases of U.S. agricultural products. And Huawei reacted to this by unveiling their very new and brand new operating system. It's Friday, called Harmony OS. All right, and Harmony OS is something that they're going to put into all their new smartphones currently and in the future, in the case that Android's not available to them based on this ban. So I'll tell you one thing, that's pretty quick. I mean, when was the first time we heard about the Huawei ban? Probably like a month ago. Yeah, but let's call it about a month. They coded a brand new operating system to go on their phone within a month. That's pretty impressive. I don't know about the quality of it. Maybe if you guys do, let me know. Uh, maybe it looks like Netscape Navigator. Who knows? I do know one thing. I have a Huawei laptop, so I got to be careful what I say because they're probably listening. All right. China weakened the yuan once again. They set their reference marker above 7.0, which is a devaluation because it's US dollar / yuan. Below 7.0 is another way to say it. They devalued their currency, making it weaker so they're more competitive on their exports. And they export more goods, volume, to make up for the sanctions and tariffs on China. Tariffs are not sanctions. All right. And that's an interesting fact. That caused a lot of volatility in yesterday's session. Markets are still up, and we've sort of turned our attention away from the China situation, but it continues to devalue their currency. The way the Chinese mechanism works, they set a reference rate, the peg they call it, and then it opens for trading in a free floating system between 2% above and 2% below that peg. Every time they've opened the peg, it's went down almost close to the 2% limit, comes up, and then closes weaker. So the market's pricing in a weaker yuan. The Chinese government is just setting it, fixing it slightly lower, and the market takes the rest of the way down. All right, so that's a situation that's ongoing at the moment. Very important globally. I think people are discounting it and what it means. All right, Facebook news. Facebook is set to launch this fall. If you like Facebook, I'm going to caution you on this. This is just an opinion. Don't get upset at me. It's just my opinion. I'm entitled to it. They say opinions are like, you know what? Everyone's got one. Facebook is set to launch a new service called Facebook News. All right. It's going to be a trustworthy news service to users. I don't know if Facebook is allowed to use the word trustworthy, but hey, they're using it. So it's going to be basically an attempt to fight against fake news and to only place articles in their Facebook News tab that is relevant and comes from some of these sources. Wall Street Journal, which is part of the Dow Jones Company, ABC News, the Washington Post, and Bloomberg. And they're looking at paying them as much as $3 million annually to license their news sites, which is actually cheap because I have both Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal, and they cost a lot more. And I'll tell you this much, not $3 million for me, but I pay about $40 Canadian for Bloomberg and about the same for Wall Street Journal. So if you do that, it's $80 times 10 months, almost $1,000 a year for news. With 1,000 users, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg would actually be losing money if they lost that many equivalent subscribers. So that's an interesting piece. Comment below if you would trust Facebook to use news. And more importantly, would you go to Facebook more often to receive these news for free? All right, that's the interesting question, because what they're trying to do is get you back on their platform by providing free news. I don't know if you guys know this. There's two main purposes for Facebook use these days. Number one is sharing cat videos. Number two is getting news. All right, news and updates around what's going on in the world. So Facebook's in line with that model. Really interesting. All right. They would include these news feeds in places like the news feed, Messenger, and the watch page on their Facebook, some of their core products. So it's a pretty cool update. Keep an eye out for that. Next up is Uber, reporting their largest quarterly loss, all right, ever. Dropped 12% after hours. The earnings per share number came out at minus $4.72. They lost $4.72 per share versus minus $3.33 expected. Their revenue was weaker as well, which was really kind of the sticking point, 3.17 billion, versus 3.41 prior. And the CEO didn't make the situation better. They lost $5.24 billion. This is what he says. We think that 2019 will be our peak investment year, and we think by 2020 or 2021, you'll see losses come down, not even profit. Think about this. You're an investor and says, in 2 to 3 years, we should be losing less. Good luck, Uber. I'm not purchasing shares, but I'm sure a lot of people are. And, honestly, I hope it works out because I love to see people win. He also said, no doubt in my mind that the business will eventually be a break-even and profitable business. Lyft is doing better, so ride-hailing as a whole as an industry isn't the problem. It's just Uber's gone IPO. They spent a lot of money on stock-based compensation, and they felt the pinch this quarter. So it's really important to see the next quarter. I think people panicked initially and sold it off, down 12%. Now it's only down -4 pre-opening. But it's the reality of a company that's trying to build scale. They're going to lose money. I put out the challenge to the team yesterday, and I want to know if you guys could do this. I put out the challenge to the team. We calculated $5.24 billion as $2.2 million a day. Could you spend $2 million a day every day for a whole quarter? Fun little exercise. And if you could, what would you do with it? All right. One of the answers better be subscribed to TRADEPRO, because at that point, might as well. All right. I'm just looking at the Uber report, trying to see if there's any other notes. You know what? There isn't. That's what you need to know about Uber. Look out for Uber. If you're an investor of it, there's going to be some volatility inevitably with a report like this. In today's markets in Asia, Japan's flat. Hong Kong is down 0.7%. China's down 0.7. India's up 0.7.